She said I was draining her and left me for another man. But on her birthday, I exposed their affair in front of everyone, and his wife showed up to end it all. My name is Mark, and I am 34. Until just a few months ago, I would have described my life as ordinary but steady, a family picture that looked normal from the outside. I had a wife named Hannah, who was also 34, and a daughter named Leah, who was 14 from my previous relationship. Hannah had stepped into Leah's life years ago, and for the longest time, she showed a kind of patience and care that I admired. She helped shape a home with me, and for a while, I truly believed we were building something solid together. But the thing about betrayal is that it rarely comes like a storm. Instead, it creeps in quietly, like a leak beneath the floorboards that you do not notice until the wood finally gives way. That's how it happened with us. First, it was the smallest of things. She stopped asking me about my day. The sweet messages she used to send during work hours stopped appearing on my phone. She once loved sending pictures of whatever meal she was cooking with a little note saying, "Save me some." But slowly, that shifted into silence. When I came home, instead of greeting me with a smile, she would barely look up from her phone. I told myself it was just stress. I convinced myself that maybe we had fallen into routine, and that was normal for long relationships. But the distance kept growing. I suggested a date night, hoping we could reconnect, but she looked at me like it was a burden. She said, "Do we really have to do this? Honestly, you're draining. I need space. Can't you just let me breathe?" Those words cut into me deeper than I could admit. After everything we had built, all our arguments, all our victories, all the shared bills and shared dreams, she reduced me to an inconvenience with just a few words. From there, the excuses multiplied. Girls' nights turned into weekends away. Long walks became long absences. And though she always had an excuse, she seemed too happy each time she returned, too light for someone who was simply out with friends. Her phone became her closest companion. She would smile at messages, then hide it like it was a precious secret. I told myself not to dwell, but in my gut, the unease kept growing. It was Leah, my daughter, who saw what I was trying not to see. Teenagers have this brutal kind of honesty that cuts through pretenses. One evening, as Hannah claimed she was heading to yoga, Leah sat across from me with her arms folded. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Dad, I think she's cheating on you." I tried to laugh it off because what else do you do when your kid says something that sounds like it belongs in a soap opera? But Leah rolled her eyes and said, "I'm not dumb. I've seen her whispering on the phone. She deletes messages. She hides her location. She's not even careful." That line echoed inside me. I wanted to dismiss it, to protect her, to protect myself. But I couldn't shake it. That night, as the house fell silent, I found myself restless, turning those words over in my mind. Eventually, my hands trembled as I picked up Hannah's old iPad, still synced to her phone. I entered the passcode, hoping to prove Leah wrong. But instead, I found the messages. Dozens of them. Messages with a man named Ethan. Words like "last weekend was perfect," "wish you were here instead of him," pictures too, the kind you never unsee. The next morning, I confronted Hannah. I didn't shout. I simply held up the iPad and asked her to explain. She looked at me without a hint of guilt and said, "You've been boring for years, Mark. Ethan gives me excitement. I don't regret it." It felt like a weight on my chest, crushing the air out of me. All the birthdays, the holidays, the nights spent believing in our marriage. She brushed them aside as if they were nothing. She walked out that morning without a tear, without regret. Later that evening, as I sat quietly with Leah, she placed her hand on mine and said, "Don't fight her. Don't beg. Just let her think she's winning. But when the time comes, show her that she ruined herself." Her words, wise beyond her age, lit something inside me. I realized I no longer needed to hold together a marriage already broken. I needed to prepare. From that day on, I gathered evidence. I saved every receipt, every screenshot, every late-night call she thought I didn't notice. She believed she had already defeated me, but she had no idea what was coming. The turning point came when Hannah's birthday approached. She had planned an elaborate dinner at a high-end restaurant, inviting her parents, her sister, her yoga friends, even coworkers. She expected me to sit at her side, smile, and pay for the entire event while she basked in admiration. But I had a different plan. With the manager's permission, I prepared a slideshow on the restaurant's large screen. Every text, every picture, every hotel receipt, all of it was ready to be shown. The night arrived, and Hannah looked radiant in a red dress. She kissed my cheek for show, pretending to be the loving wife. I played along, quietly waiting. Dinner went on with laughter and chatter, until I finally stood and tapped my glass. Everyone expected a heartfelt toast. Hannah even smiled proudly, thinking I was about to praise her. Instead, I connected my phone to the screen. Photos and messages began appearing before the entire room. First, people looked confused. Then they began to whisper. Hannah went pale. Her sister stared in shock, and her mother dropped her fork. I looked directly at Hannah and said, "You called me draining, but it's you who drained this marriage dry." The silence was deafening. Hannah tried to stop me, tried to claim it was fake, but the evidence was overwhelming. Her friends looked at her with disgust. Her family couldn't even meet her eyes. She stormed out of the restaurant humiliated, but the night was far from over. As I left later, I learned that Ethan's wife had been sent the evidence by Leah earlier that day. And just as Hannah tried to crawl back inside the restaurant to spin her lies, Ethan's wife walked in. Without a word, she grabbed a glass of wine and poured it over Hannah's head. The entire room gasped. Then she said loud enough for everyone to hear, "You ruined 2 families. I hope it was worth it." That was the final blow. Hannah's carefully built image shattered that very night. By the next morning, Ethan's wife had filed for divorce and shared everything online, naming both him and Hannah. Her reputation collapsed overnight. I filed for divorce immediately too, armed with the pile of evidence I had collected. My lawyer told me Hannah would not get the house, nor would she touch my retirement. I went for full custody of Leah, and he said it would be hard for any judge to rule against me. Through it all, Leah remained steady. She hugged me and said, "See, Dad, you didn't have to destroy her. She destroyed herself." Hearing that from my daughter gave me a sense of peace I had not felt in a long time. Hannah tried reaching out, long texts, voicemails, begging for another chance. She said she still loved me. She said she didn't mean to hurt me, but none of it mattered. She didn't think of me or Leah when she chose to sneak away with Ethan. She only thought of herself. And now, she has to live with the consequences of her choices. Some might call what I did petty, but for me it wasn't revenge. It was closure. Watching her world collapse in the same way she tried to collapse mine gave me the strength to finally walk away with my head held high. Now, 2 weeks later, I sit here typing at 2 in the morning, but this time for a different reason. Not from pain or sleepless anxiety, but from a sense of relief. Divorce proceedings are moving quickly. Leah and I are planning a trip together, just the 2 of us, to start fresh. For the first time in a long time, I feel like the ground beneath my feet is solid. Hannah will always live with the weight of what she did, but I am moving forward with my daughter beside me. That, more than anything, is victory. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more stories.